Welcome to Authentically Aligned, a wellness podcast where growth is rooted in safety, reconnection happens through the nervous system, and we return home to ourselves. Before we begin this episode, I invite you to take a moment to pause. Take a moment to take a deep breath. Take a moment to check in with your body, with yourself, and find yourself in this present moment. As we get into today's episode, we are talking about the return home to ourselves and why so many of us feel disconnected. Feeling disconnected is an experience that we all can relate to. And while what that feels like may feel different for each of us, we all relate in the fact that we can always return back to ourselves, and there is always space for us to return back to ourselves. Sometimes feeling disconnected feels like something that's missing from your life, or something is missing from your life. It can feel like being fully present inside of your life, but not fully present inside of yourself. These things are so normal, and while we would love to fix these things instantly or right away, unfortunately, these things take time to fix, and reconnecting to ourselves is an ongoing practice and process. It's important to understand that feeling disconnected from yourself does not mean that you are broken or need fixing. What it means is something inside of you has been working very hard to survive. And essentially, it has kept you stuck in survival mode. So while we address returning back to ourselves in this episode, I want you to understand that returning back to yourself doesn't mean quitting your current life. It's not about burning everything to the ground and starting over. And it's not about becoming someone new. But what we are talking about is what it means to return to yourself. Why so many of us are and begin to feel disconnected from ourselves. How that process slowly happens over time. And how we gently begin to reconnect over time through safety rather than making it a race. What we are talking about today is how so many people are and become disconnected from themselves. And it happens slowly over time. So because it's something that happens slowly over time, reconnecting to ourselves is also something that happens gently and slowly over time. And our reconnection begins through safety rather than force. Disconnection is so common. And oftentimes, because we are disconnected, it leads to isolation, and it leads to a point of us feeling like we are the only one that is experiencing this. And it's important for us to, number one, understand that everybody experiences disconnection, and everybody can find space to return to themselves. No matter how connected you may be with yourself, there is always room to return to a point of better connection. When we are disconnected, it is not a form of failure, but rather just a sign that we are veering away from our life's purpose and the path that is destined for us. Oftentimes, when we're experiencing a sense of disconnection, this can happen through many, many years of caregiving. This can happen through many years of emotional labor. This can happen through seasons of survival and seasons of heavy responsibility. All of these things tend to pull us away. And all of these things are a root cause for our disconnection. and our need and desire to return back home to ourselves. A huge sign of disconnection is when we start to experience burnout. Things that look like numbness, being on autopilot, living a flat, redundant, tedious life. As we continue moving through these seasons of autopilot, these are the seasons that we are experiencing a large sense of disconnection from ourselves. And oftentimes we have been conditioned or have conditioned ourselves to attune ourselves outward before attuning ourselves inward. And this could happen through relationships and worrying and taking care of other people. Maybe it's through having children and giving all of your emotional energy and attention to your children and not giving any of that to yourself. So after an extended amount of time, this becomes habitual. It becomes habitual to leave yourself. It becomes habitual to disconnect from yourself or abandon yourself for the sake of somebody else's needs. And as this happens, there is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with being an empathetic person and caring about somebody else's feelings and taking care of someone. But understanding that the true way to joy, to happiness, fulfillment is through the attunement and the connection that you have with yourself, first and foremost. And then as you are attuned with yourself and pouring into yourself, you have a greater capacity to show up as a emotional support, as a guidance, as a foundation for somebody else. And if you are experiencing disconnection or when you have seasons of disconnection, this doesn't mean that you are flawed. This means that there is a part of your nervous system that is trying to keep you safe, that is trying to protect you. And oftentimes inside of this protection mode, we become disconnected because we are not actually attuning to our needs. We're not actually getting to the deeper root issue of what's going on, but rather we're facing the surface level issue and fixing what we believe will help. But at the end of the day, the only thing that will actually get to the bottom of your disconnection is attuning with yourself and reconnecting with yourself. It becomes so easy to lose ourselves because as we're losing ourselves, it's not something that's just instantly taken away from us. This is something that slowly happens over time. It happens quietly. It does not happen suddenly. And oftentimes it starts to happen when we have these small moments of self-abandonment. So each time that we say yes when we really want to say no, each time that we put somebody else's time above ours, each time that we put ourselves in a place of misalignment, little by little by little is when all of this disconnection starts to build. Sometimes this looks like staying in roles that are no longer fitting for us. Maybe it's a job. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a friendship. Maybe you spend so much time wanting better for somebody else than they even want for themselves. And inside of that, you start to lose yourselves inside of somebody who doesn't even want to see themselves. This happens any moment that you make a decision where your body is clearly telling you no and you're saying yes. When you're experiencing this anxiety, this fear, this sense of dysregulation inside your body, this is your body's way of telling you that your decision is not in alignment with you, your true purpose, your true being. or even more, God's purpose for you and the purpose that you have through his eyes. As we do this, we get into a functionality mode where we are functioning through life rather than feeling. And through this, it is important to understand that you cannot allow your feelings to dictate the decisions that you are making. But when you have a deep-rooted connection to yourself, you also have a deep-rooted connection to your emotions, and you recognize where your emotions are coming from, and you recognize what your body is trying to tell you in an instance of experiencing these emotions. So in an instance where you feel a sensation through your body, you're able to recognize, you're able to understand, this is familiar, I've experienced this before. Now, what is my body trying to tell me? Sometimes anxiety comes from excitement. Anxiety comes from the fear of unknown, but being able to label and name these things before making a decision, taking the time to pause, taking the time to really check in with yourself so that each and every decision that you're making is not emotionally charged and it's in alignment with everything that you are. And oftentimes we experience this sense of identity loss through roles that either somebody else puts us in or we put ourselves in, or through survival mode and just trying to get to the next place and the next place and the next place, rather than allowing yourself to be present in each moment that you are supposed to live. Your life is meant to be lived. Your life isn't meant to just be pushed to the next moment, to the next moment, to the next moment. A really great question to ask yourself now and consistently is, when was the last time that I checked in with myself without pushing through, without feeling like I have to force into the next moment? How do you check in with yourself before forcing yourself into the next moment? Because anything in your life that has to be forced is not in alignment with you. Now, what does it look like to return to yourself? Returning to yourself does not look like leaving your life. It does not look like abandoning your obligations or abandoning the people around you. But what it does look like is eliminating the abandonment of yourself inside of any of these instances, inside of any of these situations. It's about reconnecting to yourself, not reinventing yourself. What are all of the things? What are all of the practices? What is everything that allows you to be you? If you can think of a time in your life where you felt like your truest, most genuine, most authentic self, what were you doing in that season of your life? Who was around you in that season of your life? How did you take care of yourself in that season of your life? What did your routine look like in that season of your life? And how can you get back to all of those things, or as many of those things as possible? Maybe that season had people who are no longer in your life, but it's not about the people who are in your life, but it's about the energies and the frequencies that you surround yourself with. What do your environments look like? And are they creating a space for you to thrive and be your true, genuine, authentic self? Or are they creating a space for you to continuously and consistently abandon yourself? Not just taking, but creating intentional time where you listen inward, where you turn inward, where you ask yourself questions, where you ask yourself, what is fulfilling right now and what is not fulfilling? What is draining? Does this really make me happy, or does the idea of it make me happy? Or is this making me happy because it's making somebody else happy? And in that case, if that is the case, you are living your life for somebody else, which is a perfect example of self-abandonment. What does it look like for you to reclaim your needs? What does it look like for you to set boundaries around reclaiming these needs? And what does it look like for you to reclaim your truth? To be able to speak everything without fear, without guilt, without shame, because you know the things that you are supposed to speak are true to you. If we think about it like this, returning to yourself is not becoming somebody new. But what it is it's you removing everything that you know to not be true about yourself. Anything that is not in alignment with your truth needs to be removed in order for you to fully, truly reconnect to yourself. So how does our nervous system play into this? Our nervous system is the ultimate identifier of us being disconnected. And oftentimes throughout life, as we go through experiences, as we go through traumas, as we just encounter seasons of life, we begin to not only disconnect from our nervous system, but we begin to disconnect from our body. So eventually, our mind, our body, and our nervous system are all experiencing a disconnection. When this disconnection happens, our lines of communication are crossed, or our lines of communication are shaky, or maybe non-existent. Thinking of it as like a game of telephone, where your nervous system is trying to tell your mind something, and by the time it gets from your nervous system to your mind, there's so much noise, there's so much chaos that the message is completely different. So it is our job to reconnect to our nervous system, to reconnect to our body. And as we're doing this, recognizing that the only reason that there is a disconnect in this communication is because our nervous system is trying to protect us from something that we've experienced before. But when you're able to eliminate that, and when you're able to be truly attuned with yourself, you allow yourself to be in each present moment, meaning that this is a completely different instance. I don't have to listen to that nervous system. I can hear it, but I don't have to listen to exactly what it's saying in this moment, because this circumstance is different from the circumstance that I was in 5 years ago, 2 months ago. But when you're not attuned with your body, it's impossible for you to check in with your nervous system and allow yourself the emotional intelligence and the intelligence of body awareness and nervous system awareness to be able to listen, understand, and then move forward, knowing what you know. Wisdom is moving forward, knowing these things, but allowing yourself to take a chance anyway, allowing yourself to be present in the moment, knowing that whatever may have happened in the past, but you now are better equipped to handle whatever it is. So it's important for you, as you connect to your nervous system, to find ways to re-regulate, to find ways to calm your nervous system, and to actually find the connection between your mind and your body. Disconnection happens when we are stuck in survival mode. Survival mode is when our body is so stuck in telling us in these specific ways that we've been stuck in, these patterns that we've been stuck in, and our mind just believes it. But we have to have autonomy over our own mind and over our nervous system in order for us to reconnect. When we're in survival mode, the priority is function. The priority is not connection. It is not feeling. So getting out of survival mode requires connection to self and attunement to self. And unfortunately, when our nervous system is dysregulated, feeling and intuition do not feel safe. Because there is no attunement, because there is no connection, there is no trust. There isn't trust between our mind and our nervous system, which is also known as dysregulation. And that's why we are unable to trust our feelings. We are unable to trust our intuition when we're disconnected from ourselves. So in order for us to reconnect, the number one thing that is required is safety. But we can't seek that safety from anything outside of us. The only way that we are going to be able to experience that safety is by giving it to ourselves, is by attuning, connecting to ourselves so that we build trust within ourselves. We think that because we spend all day, every day with ourselves, we trust ourselves and we know ourselves. But if you are not consistently cultivating and pouring into this relationship and building your self-trust, and inside of that, building the trust that you have with God, building the connection that you have with God, so you can use your discernment when it comes to making decisions. You can't think your way, overthink, underthink your way back to yourself. Regulation has to be what leads you back to yourself. So what do practices look like to reconnect to yourself? The first thing to recognize is that reconnection happens through consistency. And if you are not creating a sense of stability or consistency for yourself or for your nervous system, it's going to be a lot more difficult to find that true, genuine reconnection. Simple things like asking your body what it needs today. We get so comfortable moving through life with tension and tightness and a sore neck and a sore body or exhaustion. We get so used to moving through life with all of these things, all of these ailments. And when you allow yourself to really listen to what's going on inside of your body and actually take care of those things, you're not just getting a massage, you're attuning back to your body. You're giving your body what it needs. You're listening to your body. And as you're doing these things, the trust that you have within yourself and the trust that your nervous system has with you and for you begins to grow. You begin to create a foundation of trust for these things. Creating quiet times with no stimulation. If you are consistently experiencing stimulation, your nervous system does not recognize what is you, what is true. You have to allow time, space, energy for quiet moments, for still moments, for you to be able to truly connect to yourself. Being able to journal without having an agenda, not feeling like you're writing for somebody, or not feeling like there's a way that you should or need to journal, but just being able to sit and write from a wholehearted, authentic place, from a present place of exactly where you are in that moment. It allows you freedom, but it also allows you connection. Even going as far to saying no to one commitment, one thing that you find to be draining, to be exhausting, to be misaligned, by making that one decision and saying the one word, no, you automatically start to reconnect to yourself. Patience, patience, patience is key. Using patience as a form of self-trust. Right now, as a society, patience has become so incredibly thin. We want everything instantly. We want everything now. We want instant gratification. But when you allow yourself to practice patience, practice showing up as yourself, and practice the understanding that everything that is meant to be in your life and for your life is absolutely happening in divine timing, it allows you to move forward with both patience and self-trust, as well as trust in God. And if you are experiencing a season of disconnection, or when you are experiencing a season of disconnection, the return back home to yourself is not a race. You are not in a rush. You're not trying to do it as fast as possible. The goal is to do it as authentic as possible, as raw, as real, as genuine as possible. So that when you do return home to yourself, you have confidence, knowing that that is exactly who you are supposed to be. And as we do this, eliminating the pressure that surrounds the reconnection to ourselves, the return to ourselves. This isn't something that should be high stress or that we should feel pressure surrounding. It should be a desire, and it should be a want, and it should be fulfilling each time we take a step closer to reconnection. So asking yourself questions like, how do I want my body to feel this year? And more so than even just thinking about the tightness and the tension and the aches and pains, but thinking about your nervous system, thinking about the sensations that you feel inside of your body on a daily basis, whether it be caused by stress, anxiety, worry, fear, or on the other positive side, fulfillment, joy, excitement, contentment, peace. What are the positive feelings that you want to feel throughout the year? And what are the things that aren't serving you that you are ready to let go of? Let this upcoming year be the year of returning and not proving. There's absolutely not a single person on this earth that you need to prove yourself to, not even yourself. Prioritizing self-connection over self-optimization. You can be the most profound, successful, huge person with accolades, with accomplishments, meeting all of your goals. But at the end of the day, having all of these things means nothing if you're disconnected from yourself. And recognize that alignment happens when you move slow enough to listen to yourself. But if you're consistently rushing and speeding and racing and moving through life, you miss the opportunity to listen. As we close out this episode, you don't have to take everything from this episode and apply it. Sometimes the application, sometimes the realization, sometimes the click happens at a later time. But the key component is awareness. As always, I am going to leave you with a journal prompt. The journal prompt is, where in my life have I been disconnected from myself? And what would one small act of self-connection look like this week? As you move through your week, notice what stayed with you and understand that integration happens slowly and quietly. If this episode resonated, I would love for you to share it. It helps to share this space with those who might be in need. As always, I am sending you so much love and light. Have a beautiful week and return home to yourself.